In this tutorial in Cyberlink PowerDirector, we'd like to show you some ways you can use special effects to highlight an object in your video. This comes as a request of one of my subscribers who wanted me to highlight a bobber in a video like the one you see on the screen. And he asked to make it a spotlight, but I thought, why limit it to one special effect? So I'm going to show you a handful. Now, the ones I will show you are suggestive, not exhaustive. There are more options than the ones I will show you, but hopefully they'll give you an idea of some of the ways you can do this yourself. So what I've done is I've taken this, let me enlarge the tracks below, and I've taken 5 different ones and placed them on the timeline. But what I've also done is I've gone to the left of each of these effect tracks, and I have decided to rename them to reflect the name of that effect. So no matter where my playhead is in my project, I'm going to know that this track, for example, is always going to be my spotlight track. So that's a way in which you can do that. Now, in this case, I'm not dropping these directly on the video. I'm editing them separately by putting them on a separate track. That's the second option you have in this case. But with 5 of them, it makes sense to drop them on a special track rather than on top of the video itself. So let's see what we can learn as we try these 5. First one is Spotlight. I'm going to turn it on because all of these are deactivated. When I highlight it, I click on the Edit button, and this gives me my tools. Now, most of the menus you're going to see on the left panel are going to be very much alike. So the most important one we want to work on is the position. So I'm going to click on Modify, and I'll have this pop-up screen. In the pop-up screen, I can take the plus and move it wherever I want on top of the element I want to highlight. So I'll put it on top of the bobber, about in the middle. And then I have an effect mask that I can use if I choose to do that. Right now it's click to nothing. I'm going to click a circle, which will give me the option either a circle or an ellipse. But first of all, I have to close this window. And then I'll click on the mask. And I can modify it several ways. I can just change it by working on the screen like this. Or I can change it by moving it in another way. I can invert the mask. I don't want to do that. And I can mask the feather radius. So I can make it very obvious or very subtle. And here again, I'm going to change the height by using this slider. And there's a subtle mask. Now we can also change the background color. White is a default for light, but if I want something maybe in the yellow tones, or the orange tones, or the purple tones, that doesn't work so well. Or a gray tone. Gray and white seem to work quite well. So if I want to use these, now I've made a subtle impression on that element inside the video. It stands out just a little bit more, and so my focus can be there. So that's the spotlight. Let's try another one. I'll turn that off and turn on my black light. Now the black light's very interesting. So we have it turned on. We're going to edit it. Now you notice what the black light does is it has light radiate from the place where you're highlighting, and it tends to distort things around it because the light is flowing out from that. Again, we have a very important position that we can use about where we want that light to be. We'll focus on the bobber, click on OK, and we can modify the color again. We can change the strength of it and the degree, and we can get some very interesting or strange results. I'll keep the degree a little bit low here and the strength down a bit so it's not quite so unexpected. But there again, we've added a little bit. We can use an effect mask, or we can go without one. If I click on the ellipse again, there you notice these are in focus. There's no impact. If I click it this way, now it's impacting everything. So in this case, I'd probably leave the effect mask off. So that's the second one. Let's look at another one. The third one I've activated is the glow option. Again, you see slightly more simplified options with your glow. If I take the slider and move it to the right, you're going to see the impact of the glow. And then we can change the blur radius on this one. So everything is blurred. In this case, I'd probably use a mask. So let's take a circular mask and turn that on. And then we can use our mouse to change the height and the width. And then let's change the blur radius so it's a little more subtle. Oh, I see, that just blows it up. Okay, let's change the feather radius. Okay, so if I probably want this high, and it's just a little bit of accent on it. That's interesting. Okay, and so for this one, that's probably the kind of thing I would use if I wanted to make it stand out with a little bit of glow, not too much. And we're going to do our black and white. I've activated it and turned off the other tracks. We'll click on the edit button. And here again, you have a similar option. Let's do invert. And let's click on degree, go all the way to the right. And now with it inverted, it's in color. Everything else is in black and white. And of course, we can feather the radius, make it more subtle or more dramatic. And in this case, that would be sufficient for me. So we'll turn that one off. I do have one other one. Now this is a BCC option. It may not be available in your version of PowerDirector, but it's called BCC Spotlight. So if you happen to have any of the BCC tools activated, it's rather unique, so I'm going to show it to you. I'll click here and we'll click on Edit. Now here we have several interesting things to work with. We have a light source. I'll click on Modify. And when I do that, my light source is something I can change, but I have to drag up because right now I have the light source way at the top. I can actually change it off the screen virtually. And the light can come from any direction I want. Let's make it come from over here. I'll click on OK. Now that doesn't seem to work because I also have a target. So I click on the target and then I can modify the target. Go back here. I'm going to take my light source again and I'm going to back it up even more. So you can work with both of these parameters, where the light comes from and what it hits. You can change the color of the light. Right now it's on kind of a yellowish. I'm going to make it a white. Click on OK. And I'm still not, you can change the cone width. You can make it broader or narrower. And then the ambient light from the cone, you can change that. Make it stand out or not. And in this case, I think I'm still going to change my source again. I'm not happy with what I've got there. I want it off the screen. That's better. See how far I moved it? Way off. Okay, click there. And then I'll change my cone width. Oops, narrow it down a little bit. And I'll change my target. So this one takes a little more tweaking. There we go. That's more like what I wanted. And then I can just change the intensity. I can make it a little less intense. So that's an example. And if we play it, we're going to see that it's highlighted. But those are some simple examples of some of the ways in which you can use special effects to highlight something in your videos. Experiment with these and many of the other special effects available to you in CyberLink PowerDirector.